the CMO with Tim Kopp, who was the former CMO at ExactTarget. He took them from 40 million to 400 million, which is pretty good. And he spent 7 years at Procter & Gamble, so I want to talk to him about that. Into some nice B-roll. This is your place. You have to navigate. Yeah.
Well, how we doing?
Pretty good. How are you? Pretty good.
Why don't I do one of the large nitro? The nitro's a cold.
Yes.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right. I was supposed to pay because this is my segment.
Oh,
but
okay.
Do you have a?
You're our guest, though.
Okay.
So.
All right. Go ahead. This is only for the camera. I wasn't really gonna pay. Don't worry. So the format for this is like I don't want anything to change from the way we were talking right now. It's like
just talk shop.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, this is this, but CMOs.
Good. I love it.
Because the audience is like, I want this to be interesting to people like myself who want to feel like I'm having a coffee with you and learning about like what you did and your team and funnel and everything.
Cool.
So
Let's do it.
Let's start. I want to go back to the coaching tree thing. Like,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you have this like. I mean, you had a big exit, so you had this team of, a couple hundred marketers, but like, what is the formula? Like, first of all, how does somebody get tapped to be in your coaching tree, right? Because I'm assuming you're not just going to all 300 people that used to work for you at ExactTarget and you're like, do you want a VP of marketing job somewhere?
Yeah.
Like, what is the makeup of that person?
Well, so when we were building ExactTarget, it was in Indianapolis, right? There was no other seasoned marketing software people to hire, right? So we ended up with a team, I think we grew it from, let's call it rough numbers, 10 to 300.
Yeah.
And in that journey, I bet maybe 20 people out of that 300 had previous software marketing experience. So most of what I ended up having to do was train, teach, coach, because they don't do it right in university either, right? They don't teach you how to do.
No, and especially not at the time where you were at like, 06, 7, 8, like online marketing was just blowing up, so you definitely didn't learn that in college.
It was serious on-the-job training. So I hired to a profile that was more psychographic. So we had, a couple of my best leaders, came out of the military, teachers. One of them was like, in Windows sales, so it was like, so I've hired for leadership, problem-solving, communication skills, and I really tried to hire to a profile.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the most important parts of learning, personally and professionally, is just exposure. That's why I like to travel. The more you're exposed to things, the more you learn. So I tried to expose my team to a lot of things, and then let them hop around and try things. And just because you've never done marketing ops doesn't mean you won't be great at it if you already know Excel. So it was trying to understand and have an instinct for that, expose people to a lot. And then when you're growing, I've always said growth covers a lot of sins. It creates a lot of opportunity. So it's exposure.
Well, when the company's growing fast, people are just going to uncover more opportunities, right? Maybe you hired somebody for marketing ops, but the company's grown so fast that 6 months from now, maybe they can do sales ops or shift to some other role.
So we would move people from marketing to sales, then we would then create international experiences. So we had people, we go to Australia or London and then back.
Yeah.
And it was
how do you scale? Like how does that scale though, right? Like if your company's growing fast, everybody that you hire has never really done marketing before. Don't they come with some debt of like you can't just plug them in and go, or maybe you could, and that's what you figured out?
It did create some debt. The good news, and I think one of the core assets or things that we had that really was building the company in Indianapolis in the Midwest. We could hire within, call it 100 or 200 mile radius, the number of high quality universities is incredible. Yeah. And you could hire really bright people out of school who just weren't exposed to it. How do you scale it? It's if people are hungry and they're ambitious, that's part of it, but then you have to make a big investment. Scott Dorsey, who's our CEO, one of the things he and I talked about all the time was marketing from the inside out. And I think this is one of the most important concepts within marketing. And I started all of my marketing and all of our best marketing was pointed internally first to make sure that people lived and breathed what we were. So before we did a product launch, we had to launch it internally. And people didn't believe in it. I wanted to hear.
We could
about
do a
it.
whole.
Like,
I could talk to you about this for hours.
So I think that was the core.
Yeah.
It was everything we. So every new hire was a week of training at our headquarters. If no matter where you were in the world, it was a week there, in and out, meet every executive, meet the product. So it was this full immersion in the company and what we were about. And I think it was just a real commitment to learning and then thinking of marketing.
I just want to give you one example of that. So 2 months ago,
And you guys do this
We
so
launched
well.
a new product at Drift, and LinkedIn had just launched LinkedIn Video, and I had been using it like personally to record videos, and it was just like the traction from it was unbelievable. And so I had this thought, was like, what if we had 120 people at Drift on launch day record a video and post it on LinkedIn?
Magic.
And everybody did it, and it was unbelievable. We had 300,000 views, the biggest traffic day to our site ever, just from posting videos on LinkedIn. And the number one question that I got after was like, how did you get everybody to do that? And I said, it was easy because we've created this culture where like everybody at Drift wants to do marketing.
Yes.
If you're in sales, if you're in customer success,
That's
if you're an
exactly
engineer,
right.
especially today because everybody has Twitter, everybody has a LinkedIn page, everybody has Instagram, like it's easier than ever to do that. And so like we just care so much about, like, to what you said, if we can't get the internal people at our own company excited, how are we ever gonna get a customer to do it? And so like everybody, that's like the
But
magic.
the old way of doing B2B marketing, right, was like kind of like, let's hop over that. Here's a new product. Let's launch a press release.
Yeah.
And then save our best marketing for like the
No.
top 20 people in the
No,
pipeline.
I want, like, especially today with the way people buy, I want like our sales rep posting a video on LinkedIn and being like, give me a call today, I will help set this up for
Yeah.
you. Like that's what people want. They
Right.
want to see that. So you were talking earlier about, you had an interesting marketing org like at ExactTarget, which is you owned everything. You owned marketing and basically all of sales enablement, kind of for that same reason, right? Of the internal marketing thing.
Yeah, we ended up, our BDR team, sales training and enablement, product launches, basically anything, pretty much everything that was non-quota bearing, we tried to run.
Yeah.
And it was because the way we tried to fundamentally solve our problem is we want to grow X percent, let's say we'd want to grow 50% at a later stage per year, and X amount could go towards sales and marketing. And then we would sit down and figure out just how do we want to carve up the dollars. Many years we were investing too much in the years early on that I was there, honestly, I think of sales and marketing as two gears. And if they connect with equal precision and they're hitting on the gears, and that's when the magic, but if you're trying to build a bigger gear than the sales team, or they're trying to, then it like breaks. So it's not a competition, it's like this true meshing.
Yeah.
And so fortunately when I came in, we realized marketing was underdeveloped relative to the sales team, and by a lot. We had a phenomenal sales team and marketing was way underbuilt.
Yeah.
They allowed me to invest back in marketing, build out the team. It didn't actually mean spend. Unfortunately, I think the easiest way to do marketing is to spend money.
More.
The hardest way to do it, and I think the right way to do it, is hire some great people and do it kind of from the inside out. So it was really building out that marketing capability to better match the sales team. And then as we better match that, then I actually had to give back some money and say, you know what, we need more sales reps. You guys really need the money more than we do, right? And it was this constant like back
This is
and
like
forth.
this could be its own clip. Like here is a CMO said, here you guys can have some. I'll take you some budget
But I
back.
got mine first,
Yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
and so it was like, to make the sales team work, to really, we had to have more marketing. We had to like do better with analysts. We had to have a better user conference. We had to have better in-market support. We had to sort of build out our brand. And, but there does come a point where the point of marketing is more sales. That's kind of the fundamental, and like if you lose sight of that, you're kind of missing the point, I think.
I'm sure people ask you about this a lot, so I don't want to spend a ton of time there, but like if you could think of some of the biggest lessons growing, scaling the company when you joined, growing from, however much revenue they were doing, whether it's 20, 30, 40 million to basically 10x that by the time you guys got done. Like, what's the biggest growing up stuff that has to happen in between there, in a marketing org specifically?
So a couple things come to mind. I'll probably think of more as we go here.
And I'm asking because, like, obviously, if you just put it all in a spreadsheet and you drag the spreadsheet, it's crazy, right?
So that's where I was going to start.
Traffic and leads, and you're just looking at that like, okay, how are we going to go from here to here?
So I think the number one thing that eats marketing executives alive is their terrible prioritizers. And then driving expectations across the organization. Like, you can't do it all. Get over it. Get over yourself. It's impossible. So
As a person,
as a person, without a doubt, and then as an organization. So it's figuring out, like, it was literally almost like I viewed myself like as a project manager, like a product manager. Like, what are all the requirements?
Right.
So I went out and I got out in the market,
Yep.
visited with the sales team,
Yep.
met with the other executives. Like, what are all the problems we have? And as you can guess, I had a list, 73 things. Rebuild the website, do better with Forrester.
Yep.
You know, we need better
Yes.
sales collateral.
launch a
on
conference,
and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
So which of these things do I think are going to make the biggest impact, and where do I think I can really win versus what are the resources we have? How do you go off and do some quick wins?
Yep.
And I think, look, so anybody, I grew up as a brand marketer
Yeah.
in CPG,
Yeah.
P&G and
I
Co.
wanna talk about that
But at
later.
the end of the day, you build your credibility by delivering demand gen. So don't fight the numbers. So in the beginning, the first 6-9 months, it was the CFO and the finance team I want to be my best friends. So I am going to, what are the set of metrics that set us up? For every dollar you give me, I'm going to give you $3 back,
Yep.
right? So then you build the political currency to go off and do some of the other things. And as it turns out, I think branding has a bigger impact on demand gen than pure demand gen does. But you have to prove it out through some of the grinded out things.
And that
up
takes
front.
time.
And it takes time.
Yeah, you can't show up in the first 6 months and your job is buying a bunch of ads and nice looking t-shirts
That's
and
right.
all that stuff. Yeah.
So at first it was, here's the whole list of things, and I
Yeah.
get it. But these are the 6 things that I'm going to knock out of the park because I think they really matter. Our sales support is awful,
Yep.
so we need a better sales deck.
Yep.
We've got to do better with analysts.
Yep.
We've got to do better at our website. So here's the 3 to 6 things that we're going to do really well.
Yep.
And by the way, if you gave me 3 to 4 other bodies, I could go and do these other things. When you're ready to do it, like we'll work the 60 hours a week per person. Nope, we'll do that. But what are the set of priorities, and how do you have people do 5 things really well instead of 50 things half-ass, right? So we went, and I think most people that when they struggle going from moving up the food chain kind of in marketing, if you're not great at collaborating cross-functionally and setting priorities, you die. And you just die.
That
So
almost
that's-
seems like, I'm just thinking about that now. That seems like a good exercise to do regularly, not just when you took over. Like,
So Scott and I,
Yeah.
literally probably every week, this is my to-do list.
Yeah.
Like, this is what and because then it can change. Well, yeah, that was your list of top priorities last
Yeah.
week, but now I need you to focus on this.
That also plays into like who you need to hire too, right? Because if you're, I think at that stage
Exactly
of
right.
hypergrowth,
That's exactly
you can't
right.
hire people who are going to freak out if you say, "Hey, here's what you're going to do today." I might come back to you next week and say, "You were going
Yes.
to do SEO, but you're not. You're going to do PR
Exactly
now,
right.
right?" Some people just
Yes.
don't deal well with that.
So the second thing, it's almost like you've done this before.
No, I haven't done it.
Yes, you
but
have
I'm
done
in
it.
the middle of
You're
it
doing
now.
it.
Yeah,
You're doing it.
yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
So it's this pendulum swinging between hiring generalists and specialists. Are you hiring athletes or snipers? And in the beginning, I want athletes. I want people. I don't need somebody who is world class at SEO
Yeah.
just yet.
Yeah.
I need people who are really good athletes who can move on their feet, who
Yeah.
can prioritize, who
Yeah.
can communicate, and
Yeah.
be good enough at a number of things that are dangerous. Once you get to 30, 40, $50 million run rate, then I think you can go in and start to hire I need somebody who's just amazing at how to run an analyst process, somebody who's great at SEO, and that's all they do. They're in that lane. But in the beginning, I want great athletes.
Yeah.
And I think the tendency is you want to go hire, well, this person came from Facebook and Google and this and this and this, and they're the best in the world at affiliate marketing. That's awesome, but when you're in a world where priorities change all the time, you have to sort of hire accordingly.
So you and Scott that's how you two would work together, which is like, here are my priorities right now. Do these feel right or wrong? Okay, good. And then go and.
Well, here's the other challenging thing about being in marketing, right? Everybody thinks they're a marketer, right? So nobody's going to go
This
to
is like
finance
the
team.
only reason why I'm doing this series is because it's like therapy. This is like
It
therapy.
is like
Yeah,
therapy, right?
Right.
The question is, do I send you a bill at the end?
Yeah, we'll find out. No, you bought the coffee. We're good. We're good.
So here's anybody can comment on a logo.
Yeah.
Anybody can, stand back and look at an event,
Yeah.
pick it to pieces,
Yeah.
or look at a wave report and decide what you could have done differently in the
Yeah.
end. But it's rare that somebody would sit there and challenge the CFO on why we picked this path with GDPR, or why the tech team picked Ruby on Rails, or it just doesn't open itself to the kind of debate that marketing does. So everybody wants to be a marketer. So everybody has all these opinions. So you have to find this balance of cool, I want your input.
Yeah.
and it's like, great, I got it.
Yeah.
Let me go,
Yeah.
right? And I think people tend to be too much input, and then they just die because
Yeah.
they're taking input from everywhere,
Yeah.
or they're not listening to anybody and they're just putting their head down. And so it is a tough. I do think that there's a big difference. I think marketing is the most challenging job in the C-suite right now because of the nature of all the fluid priorities, and everybody wants to comment on everything. And just marketing has never been more strategically important than it is now.
And you have to do both. So David, who's my boss and our CEO,
Yeah.
his line, his saying is both. Right?
Yes,
Because
both, that's
it's
right.
it's usually always both. Like, do we want to drive demand or do we want to build a world-class brand?
Both.
Well, we need both, right? Not only do they support each other, but we got 50 sales reps who need to eat, right?
Yep.
And at the same time, we're in this for the long haul to build $1 billion company. We have to build a brand that gets people up out of bed every morning. And you can't do one. You can't pick one.
Exactly right. That's
So
tough.
yeah. So what is like for people that will watch this, which is mostly marketing people that want to grow, what is like, you've groomed a lot of VPs of marketing or CMOs, right? What are the things that separate them from the director of marketing or marketing manager who thinks they want to grow but aren't ready yet? What separates the really good people that you're willing to? Because obviously you have probably 1 million marketers in your network who want your advice, want your intros, want your connections, but there's probably only a handful of people that you've like personally helped. What separates them from everybody else?
So it's actually, I think your biggest rate limiter as an executive is how well you can hire. So I may not be the best at everything, but I know I'm pretty good at knowing what I'm not good at, what I am good at, and finding ways to hire.
Yeah.
And so I like to expose people to a management experience as early as possible and see how they do. And the difference between truly wanting to be a VP of marketing and an executive, there's nothing wrong with, by the way, saying I'm going to be a senior manager, a product manager, a product line and be amazing at it. That's like, I'm not saying one's better than the other,
No.
right? But you're asking if somebody really wants the executive experience, they have to learn the soft skills with the hard skills. And some of that is you have it or you don't. And then it's this like flexibility. It's really hunger to learn is a lot of it. Ability to hire would probably be the second. And it's actually, I don't know how to characterize the last one, but it is, it's a lack of defensiveness. Like I use this line all the time with my team, and now that they would joke with me. I'd say feedback is a gift, and I believe in this sort of radical candor framework of I'm trying to learn, you're trying to learn. The only way we're going to do about it is if I care about you, you care about me.
Yeah.
And when you need hard feedback, I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to invite the feedback when I'm not doing something right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's a challenge for a lot of people.
It is. We try to have it's because it's just human nature is for you to say like, you screwed that thing up. Why'd you do it? And my nature is to be like, whoa, no, hold on.
Yeah, that's
it's
my
human
one of my
nature is
biggest faults.
to get
Yeah,
defensive, right?
right.
And so I always have to remind myself like, don't get defensive.
Yes.
It's only going to help.
Yes.
But that's such a different mindset. You have to
Yes.
have the growth mindset of like, no, Tim's trying to help me right now. I'm going to get better because of this. But it's hard. Nobody wants to sit there and take that. I
So
think
there has to be this final thing I think that
Yeah,
building off what
yeah,
you're saying is
yeah.
like there's an element of selflessness I think that goes into all it, which is I care about my career, but I actually care about the company's objectives and the team objectives kind of more than my own, which sounds really easy, but you have to fight a lot of human nature you want to have to maximize the whole in a time.
I don't think I'm good at this yet, but I think the advice I got from somebody recently was like, what you have to understand is nobody really cares how you get there, how you get to the goal. It's your job to get there. And so whether that means you hire 50 people or there's an agency that does this piece and you do it that piece, like your job is to get, so you have to get rid of like this feeling that you have to control everything. Your job is to get there. And oftentimes it's got to be through the right people, like hiring.
That's exactly right.
All right, I want to talk about P&G.
Okay,
Because
cool.
I'm fascinated with P&G because I love brands and brand building. And I think that brand is really hot right now. We've been talking a lot about it. Brand is coming back.
Who knew? Here we are.
Brand is coming back, and there's a million reasons why we could talk about that. But what did you do at P&G? Like,
Man, I was so lucky. I ended up.
you were there for 7 years.
I'm so old right now that when I started, I was literally one of the first digital marketing. So I created what was like digital marketing then in some ways.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like in those days, it was pretty easy. It was go to whatever AOL and Yahoo were
Yep.
doing, and that was kind of the only game.
Yep.
But it was literally figuring out
Yep.
the early days of building websites, email acquisition.
Yeah.
So it started off in the IT organization
Yeah.
as a digital marketing manager. Worked on, so my lucky break was I ended up on a brand called Crest White Strips, and then I ended up doing their global launch through digital marketing. So build out all their first digital marketing programs, the website, and then prove that you can use offline and online together. We did almost $100 million year one launch by figuring out how to combine brand marketing and direct marketing online and offline. And then it was like a drug. I've always said nothing breeds adoption like success. And once other people saw it,
Yeah. Well, because then you have
took
everything
off.
you need. You have testimonials, you have proof, you have all the stuff you need to grow.
So look, P&G, you know, it's been a little bumpier now, but 20 years ago, that was, cannot think of a better place to start my career and
Yeah.
learn branding.
Yeah.
So what I really learned there was understanding, like people think understanding your customer, I mean like sitting at a focus group and eating
Yeah.
M&Ms
Yeah.
and like, okay, that might be part of it. I did my share of that, but what you really have to do is understand what we would call in a software sense, who's your ICP? Who really is your customer? And then understanding this customer's boss, consumer segmentation, and that brand really does matter. Of course brand matters. And if it matters when you're in store, it matters just as much when you're buying software as any. So I had sort of the 7 years of experience between IT and marketing, ended up running from White Strips, ran digital marketing for the entire beauty care division for them, which was just a great experience. And then from there, kind of went to Coke. So I had this sort of 10 years CPG, hardwired, digital marketing, branding, customer, like that's just how I grew up.
Do you think because of like what you did at P&G and how just the P&G focus on understanding the customer, do you think that's why you were good at what does sales need? What does this team need? What does this team need? Like when you're at, figuring out all the other pieces.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe so. I think because the role of a brand manager, as I really think about it then, technically it was marketing, but it was really project management. You were a general manager. Your job was to run a business cross-functionally.
Yeah.
So I guess I always just thought of marketing that way. And when you and I think actually if you look at the way a lot of great I think the best B2B marketers today did not grow up in B2B, actually. They grew up doing something else and then just kind of landed here.
or even if they didn't grow up doing it, I think it's the people that look for inspiration from, because and I'm sure you've seen this now over all the companies that you have invested in and advised and everything. Like B2B has this like, if one B2B marketing company is doing it, well then everybody's going to do it, right? Like if somebody said the best time to send an email is 2:08 p.m. on a Tuesday, if that was a best practices report that came out in B2B marketing,
that's what you do.
Everybody would go do that.
Right.
Versus like the real mindset would be like, I'm trying to send an email at Saturday night at midnight when nobody's sending an email. So I wonder how we teach more of that. Like,
I agree. I think having this innate curiosity is part of it. Like you can't just wait to have the answer sort of told you. And I actually think as an aside, so when I came in, so I had 10 years B2C, and then I had actually 10 years B2B. So I went from Coke to WebTrends, then to ExactTarget. When I jumped in as a CMO at WebTrends, I think there were fewer than 10 B2B CMOs out there. Like that was, I think that's the other tough thing about being in marketing now. Like just as a discipline, it's just the newest role in the C-suite. And I think Adobe might have had one, Cisco had one, and it was very thin, right? Marketing did not have a place at the executive table. Frankly, the head of sales often ran marketing. So when I told people I was a CMO,
that makes me itch.
Give you hives.
Armin, if you're watching, I love you, but you should not run marketing.
It just you shouldn't, right? They're just different, and that's the way it is. So, but when I told people I was going to be a CMO, they thought it was a made-up title. Like there wasn't like a chief medical officer. What do you mean? There's not.
Chief management? What is that?
They're like, okay, they made up a title for you. That's cool. But I think it actually turns out that it's all going together. I don't know what to call it. I think it's more like just B to H, which is business to human. Because people are people, and like if I go into Apple and I buy a new phone, as I did here recently, or I go into Chipotle and you buy a burrito. You don't like then take off a hat and say, I'm going to go back to my office and buy software.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
that's
did I
it.
get an
That's
amen?
it. That's
Right.
it. That's it.
Because
we are all B2C buyers, right? Like, and I think the biggest challenge with marketers
that's why I even struggle
today,
with B2B.
Yes.
Because like I'm not selling like the business of Adobe does not buy a piece of software. It's a person.
It's a person.
Right.
And by the way, the same person who you're selling B2B software to and making them go through this brutal sales cycle is also on Zappos or Amazon and buying something, right? Like I have a daughter, she's 1, right? We can buy anything, within 2 seconds we're like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, boom, it's at the house tomorrow. But then if I wanna go buy a B2B software product, which maybe costs $500, $299, everybody on my team at Drift today can swipe a credit card and buy something. But the process there is crazy. So I love the B to H, like it's all people. And people also say, but we sell to the enterprise, right? We have really long sales cycles. Well, like, oh, so are those not people in the enterprise?
Right.
Is it different? I don't understand.
I know. I still think people buy, the reason branding does matter is you still buy based on emotion. People want to be part of something. They want to be part of a company. I think it's Drift has a phenomenal software platform, but I think a lot of reason people believe in what you've created is the way you've humanized your brand, the way you've made, like you're a movement that people want to be part of. And I think that is and how do I separate that from a pure demand gen process?
Was that like an intentional thing for P&G products? Like if you're in a P&G product, it wasn't just compete on features. Obviously they had the best scientists, right, that are working on like Crest white strips, but wasn't there some thought for like packaging and branding on how we're going to compete on an emotional level? Was that a big piece of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there was kind of a formula that they would go through. It was creating an insight that was in somebody's mind, then coming up with what they called an ACB, an accepted consumer belief on something, and then an RTB, which is a reason to believe, which is kind of like what your differentiator was. But all that, like at the end of the day, why do you really buy Tide versus why do you buy Gain? It's because you have some kind of emotional attachment to Coke versus what you do Pepsi and I think people ascribe all these other small things to more technical things than they should. But at the end of the day, it really is brand. Like I can't say that I like, I have an Apple device or I have a Mac because I believe in these 3 key product differentiators. It's like it.
Yeah.
I don't
well,
know.
especially from every sales rep is going to tell you that their thing is faster, it's better, it's easier to use, it integrates with X, Y, and Z, right? Customers love it. Nobody's going to, that's the same thing. We were at dinner last night, and my favorite thing happened when I go to a restaurant is we both never been here before. We're at a nice restaurant, didn't really know what to order. Said to the waiter, hey, what should we get? Without even taking a breath, he goes, the pork chop. And we both were like, boom, done. And that was amazing. Like I hate when you go to a restaurant and you're like, what's good here? And they're like, everything, right? You want somebody to be real with you, and especially in the sales and marketing world. Like I want somebody to tell me the truth. Like, and one of the best copywriting strategies of all time is like addressing your flaws up front.
Could not agree more.
Because that's going to make people believe you more.
Yes.
So if you can address that all up
But why
front.
did the waiter say the pork chop? One, they weren't overly trained to rehearse. This wasn't a chain restaurant.
No, it was not a chain.
They're not allowed to say that.
He said it without hesitation.
And it was somebody who has tried all the things.
Tried it.
They knew it, and then they had this fundamental belief. And I do think it's the same way if you're selling a pork chop or a piece of hardware or a piece of software. It's this, when you believe in somebody who believes in what they believe in, so branding and demand gen are even these words that are hard for me to put sort of silos around because I do think they're coming together, but that's why this idea of like marketing from the inside out is so powerful. You did that, and I think because when you're pointing your best marketing guns inside the company to where somebody has that kind of belief, but you're also empowering them to be who they are, like to they're not overly trained.
No, well, it doesn't feel like they are good at selling because
real.
they've nailed the sales script.
Yeah.
They're good at selling because they really believe in it and they've seen it. So, Tim, I'm done with my coffee.
Oh,
so
I am too.
Thank you, man.
That was good time.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
that
for
was
doing
great.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
bet. That was good.
That's it.
Timed it up.
You timed it up perfectly.